好，感谢主，今天我们在这里早上继续有公开讲座。我们的老师Dr. Dixhoorn 是范德恩博士，是西敏神学院的教会历史教授，以及西敏神学院里面的西敏研究中心的主任。这次来神硕课程教导西敏准则有这2次公开讲座，昨天晚上和今天早上，那么之后都会放在 YouTube 上，所以欢迎大家也邀请教会弟兄姐妹、牧师、长老、同工来一起来一起来学习吧。好，那我们今天他讲的题目是上帝的医生，西敏会议和教牧关系，我们把时间交给他。
Good morning, and thank you again for allowing me to address you on such an important subject.
早安，感谢主，也谢谢大家让我再一次有机会和大家分享这个重要的题目。
My lecture this morning is entitled God's Physicians.
今天早上这个讲座的题目是上帝的医生。
The Westminster Assembly and the Reformation of Pastoral Care.
西敏会议和这个教牧侍奉的改革
As many of you now know, the assembly about which I'm speaking met in the city of Westminster.
大家都知道，我们今天所讲到的西敏会议是指说在伦敦西敏大教堂所举行的会议。
Westminster is a city in England next to London, and the assembly met in the middle of a bloody civil war.
这个西敏大教堂是在西敏城就在伦敦市的旁边。他们在这里聚集的目的是正在英国内战的时候。
It tore apart England and Scotland, Ireland and Wales.
这个内战使得英格兰、爱尔兰、苏格兰、威尔士都陷入了内部的分裂。
The English Parliament, for a variety of reasons, raised an army.
那么英格兰的国会呢，因为不同原因就开始组织军队。
It was trying to rein in the power of the king and to gain reforms in taxation, religion, and politics.
是因为这个要抵抗英王查理的这个专制，为了种种包括宗教、政治、经济方面的这个原因。
The English Parliament in the 1640s was called the Long Parliament.
那在1640所召开的这个英国的这个国会称为长期国会。
For the simple reason that it meant for a very long time.
原因就是很简单，因为这个开的会期很长，所以叫长期的国会。
The Westminster Assembly was the Long Parliament's parachurch synod.
那这个西敏大会召开是由国会召开的这个所谓的咨询的附带的这个附属的这个会议。
It was called to continue England's Reformation begun a century before.
是继续要1个世纪之前开始英格兰开始改教的运动。
The membership of the synod was handpicked by the 2 houses of Parliament.
这个大会所召集的这个开会的这些会员是谁呢？是由国会的上下议院所选定的。
And most of it was English.
大部分都是属于英格兰人。
The Scots exported a handful of delegates.
那么这个苏格兰呢派了几位代表来。
After signing a solemn league and covenant. 因为苏格兰和英格兰签署了这个所谓的这个神圣联盟的这个公约。The French churches in London supplied 2 ministers to the assembly.
那在伦敦的这个法国的难民教会也派了2位来参加做代表。
The Irish were informally represented by Joshua Hoyle.
那这个爱尔兰呢有一个非正式的代表的Hoyle 来参加。
And the Englishmen did not think that the Welsh had any important theologians.
那么在英格兰这些国会认为威尔士没有出什么好的有名的神学家。
And so they sent Englishmen in their place.
所以就还是选了英格兰人代替威尔士的名额。
In this session, I want to look with you at models of pastoral care.
在这段，我们来一起来讨论这关于什么是教牧关怀侍奉的模范。
Ideas about pastoral care advanced by the Westminster Assembly.
那么关于这个教牧的关怀侍奉，在西敏大会其实有很重要的贡献和进展。
What I'm saying this morning will only flag topics for discussion, I think.
那我想讲这些只是要唤起大家的兴趣，让大家来参与待会儿下堂的问题讨论。
And I hope in our question and answer period we'll be able to think practically
我盼望在第二阶段的问题讨论中，大家可以更多很实践性的讨实际的问题。
About what it means to be shepherds of souls.
到底所谓是灵魂的牧人是什么意思？
So when did the Westminster Assembly clarify what it thought about pastoral care?
那在西敏大会期，什么时候他们开始来处理澄清什么叫做教牧关怀呢？
I think the closest it ever came to doing so was in November of 1643.
是在1643年11月，大概那个时候开始讨论教牧关怀侍奉。
But let me back up just a little bit first.
让我先来再重新讲一下。
In the summer of 1643, the Long Parliament had allowed the Assembly to examine ministers.
从1643年8月，国会开始准许这个西敏大会开始来所谓考核审查教牧人员。
These were men who were attempting to change their congregation within the Church of England, or were moving from one congregation to another within the Church of England.
因为在当时在英格兰的这些教牧有人想从这个教会换到另一个教会，这样换来换去。
The Assembly also examined new fellows or professors for the universities.
那这个大会也同时考核审查这些候选的新进的这些教牧人员的资格，以及在大学已经做神学的教授。
And later, it would also examine candidates for the ministry.
那后来也审查这些未来要准备从事教牧人员的资格审查。
What the Assembly was doing was creating a comprehensive screening program for the nation's ministers.
这个大会所做的事呢，组成一个很全备的、仔细检查的这样的方式，来希望整个国家的所有教牧人员，包括未来的这个，都要经过仔细的考核。
The Assembly had been summoned by the rebel parliament to reform the structures of the church.
那么这个与国王抗争的这个国会呢，召开西敏大会是为了要来带来英格兰教会改革，要从体制上改革。
But the members were equally interested in reforming the personnel of the church.
那么，然而在大会参加的会员呢，更看重的也一样看重的就是这个侍奉的不只是架构这个要改变，而是这个侍奉的人是怎么样的人。
And in the decade between 1643 and 1653,
从1643到1653年这10年间，
the Assembly spent more time examining these individuals than it did anything else.
那么这个10年间开会里面，主要是花在这个考核教牧人员这个时间，超过其他制定信仰告白、讨论其他问题的时间。
They spent more time on this than they did on church government.
所以他们在讨论这个考核这个教牧人员的时间，超过他们讨论教会治理的时间，
Or revising the worship of the church.
或者是如何更新这个教会崇拜秩序的时间，
Or creating confessional texts for a more fully reformed church.
或者说编定的西敏信仰告白问答等这些时间，都比不上花在教牧关怀考核教牧人员的时间。
Last night I highlighted how this was important for preaching in England.
昨天晚上我也讲到这个，在英格兰说这个讲道是如何重要。
But this is also a story which is important for pastors and elders.
这也同时是对牧师和长老都很重要的。
Most of the people examined were active or aspiring pastors.
那这些来接受，已经是牧师接受考核，或是准备很想做牧师接受这个考核的人。
And they were required to satisfy the assembly with some kind of an account of their present or intended pastoral ministry.
他们都要来到西敏大会这个审查委员会来审查他们的这个现在的牧会的状况，以及将来如果准备牧会的话，都很详细的考察。
I don't want to exaggerate the importance of an exam on the eventual life of a pastor and his ministry. I don't want to exaggerate the effect that an examination can have on job performance.
所以我不想来夸张的描述说，因着西敏大会这样子的认真的考核，当时教牧人员、未来教牧人员带来影响有多大的？的确是的影响非常深远的。
But at the same time, it seems fair to say that the assembly had a wonderful opportunity to impress their vision for pastoring on their ministerial colleagues.
同时也正是西敏大会透过这个机会来表达出清教徒对教牧关怀侍奉这个理念已经如何落实的一个清楚的这个意向与教导。
The assembly needed to have some kind of uniformity in the way in which it examined its candidates.
所以当然在这个西敏大会里面，他们要来审查这些所有的教牧人，未来的教牧人，那他一定要有一个统一一致的这个法则来进行。
So in November of 1643, the assembly voted a set of instructions for examiners to use.
1643年11月呢，大会就制定了一个规矩，如何用什么样的方式的这个内容来考核教牧人员。
Most of the questions examined the potential ministers or the actual ministers' personal godliness.
那第一个就是说要考察这些未来的教牧人或者现在位的教牧人，第一个他们的个人的灵命是不是敬虔
，or his education, or his preaching competence.
他的这个教育背景以及他讲道是不是有能力的讲道。
But 2 of the 21 points on the checklist directly addressed pastoral care.
关于这21点的检查要项里面有2项直接联系到如何教牧关怀。
Rule number 16.
第16点规则
Trial is to be taken to see how he can work on consciences.
那就是必须来考验他如何这个有一个清洁良心来侍奉。
Rule 17.
第17
He is to be asked what he thinks of catechizing.
他要问他对药理问答的教导有看法如何
And the right way of visiting the sick.
以及如何去探访病人的正确方式是什么。
Together, these 2 rules addressed 3 problems in living.
这16、17这2个规则呢，显示出有3个当时主要的问题，
Problems often addressed in post-Reformation pastoral care.
以及在宗教改革之后，常常大家所关切的3方面有关教牧侍奉。
That of sin, ignorance, and suffering.
罪的问题、无知的问题以及苦难的问题。
Some level of proficiency in all 3 categories
所以在这个3方面都要有足够的这个装备才行。
was required as a minimum standard of pastoral care.
要从事教牧关怀的，一定要最基本要有这3方面的装备认识，才能够真正帮助对象。
Now, this talk is in some ways more of an exercise in cartography than history.
那这样我们这样就这样讲解，主要是说。大概不是讲解历史的细节，而是说给大家一个图画、一个图表来看这个情况。
The best I can do is to provide a map for myself and maybe for some of you.
意思说，我们现在所介绍是提供给大家一个地图，给我自己给大家一个地图，而不是讲仔细的历史细节。
To help us locate assembly priorities and perspectives on pastoral care.
从这样的这个地图的这个表达方式，是让他清楚知道当时。这个大会主要关切的要项的讨论的是什么
In our short time together, I won't be able to give you a full picture.
在这么短的时间，我没有办法给大家一个全貌、完全所有的教导。
But this is what we will do.
但给大家一个基本的这个一个地图式的认识，怎么回事啊
I'll first discuss the pastoral approach to problems presented by the assembly.
首先，我来分享的是大会所提供的如何面对这个实际处境出现问题的时候，在教牧里面，我们如何实际去开始牧会关怀。
And then I'll offer some observations based on the writings of individual members.
然后会根据这些参加大会的会员他们各自所写的著作里面提出一些他们的论点，如何从事教牧关怀。
Now, it's probably not an accident that the assembly first insisted that a minister be examined in his ability to work on the conscience.
所以这个不是意外的。这个大会首先特别强调是一个候选人一定要检查他是不是能够照他的良心来行事。
In the assembly's own literature, the word conscience carries moral overtones.
所以换句话说，这个在根据大会所进的这些文件、这些著作里面，显示出这个所谓良心是非之心是指跟他的道德生活有关系。
As when their confession of faith calls for people to do their duty for conscience sake.
正如这个信仰告白里面说到说，这个人们蒙召来从事他们的职分、他们的责任是为了良心的缘故。
The conscience is the early warning system for detecting idolatry in the heart.
所以这个良心是我们第一道的这个防线，就是说，当我们心中有出现任何的淫乱、任何的这个邪恶的罪的时候，良心就亮红灯了。
It's the alarm that sounds when temptation has penetrated human defenses.
所以这个警钟一响之后，就已经说明这个现在这个试探已经进到这个你的心的深处了，你要来赶快防卫了。
It has to do with sin.
那就是良心是要去针对这个防御罪的问题。
In the Assembly's own writings, the problem of sin appears first in petitions to Parliament.
换句话说，从这个大会所写的文件，比方说这个向这个国会的这个请愿的文件里，说明这个第一个讲到就是这个罪的问题。
Members' consciences require them to speak out against unchecked sin in the nation.
大会参加的会员，他们的良心要求他们要说出来，当时英格兰国家里面这些没有被制止的罪恶在流行。
Predictably, sin was also a major focus of the gathering's explicitly theological works.
换句话说，这些大会的会员在一起开会聚在一起，他们讨论这些圣经神学的这个文章论点，最主要的这个针对的是罪的问题。
A chapter is given to the subject early in the Synod's 1646 Confession of Faith.
所以在1646所制定的西敏信仰纲要里面，有一章专门是讲到这个罪的问题。
And pithy aphorisms on the subject appear in both of the Assembly's catechisms.
然后在1647年所制定的大和小要理问答里，都简洁有力的论到如何对付罪人。
They're designed to help children and heads of households articulate the nature and effects of sin.
要理问答是帮助这个小要理问答，帮助家庭里面的成员或家长带领孩童们一起来了解认识罪的本质和罪带来的后果。
What is sin?
那到底什么是罪呢？
Sin is any want of conformity unto or transgression of the law of God.
罪就是没有顺服上帝的律法或者违背上帝律法。
And what does sin do?
那么罪做了什么呢？
It brings humanity into an estate of sin and misery.
那是将人性陷入这个罪和悲惨的光景当中。
In considering the problem of sin,
那考虑这个罪的问题，
the Assembly explained that the first movements of Adam and Eve in the garden
这个大会解释这个亚当夏娃他们当初的伊甸园犯罪的情形
were a grim overture to all the misery that would follow.
因为他们的犯罪堕落，使得后来所有人都照这样的方式都死在罪中了。
The clinical diagnosis of the Assembly,
所以这样所谓的临床诊断，这个大会所做的这个临床诊断
basic to the cure of souls,
是根本上是要来医治人的灵魂。
is that all people enter life already dead in transgressions and sins.
就当人们出生的时候，他已经是在死在罪恶过犯当中了。
Additionally, as the Synod's confession explained,
接着这个大会的这个信仰告白解释说，
from this original corruption,
从这个当起初的这个全然的败坏堕落，
whereby we are utterly indisposed, disabled, and made opposite to all good,
我们的本性完全倾向也会抵挡，根本无能做任何的善，
and wholly inclined to all evil,
所以全然倾向所有的邪恶，
do precede all actual transgressions.
以及做出实际的这个犯罪的罪行。
From a state of sin erupts a life of sin.
从罪的状态这个爆发出这个罪的生活行为。
Not even grace interrupts the full effects of sin.
那即使蒙了恩典得了恩典，也没有办法完全阻挡罪的全方位、全部的带来的后果。
Grace places a person in a right standing with God.
恩典只是使你在神面前得到这个赦免，这个与上帝恢复正确的关系。
Grace restores a broken relationship.
那么恩典重建了原来遭到破坏的关系。
It gives peace with God and guarantees glory.
使得我们可以与神和好，并且将来可以得到荣耀。
Grace alleviates, but in this life does not eradicate the effects of sin.
这罪带来的后果呢？恩典可以减低，可以减轻它的这些问题症状，但是不能彻底的在今生根除罪。
The confession stresses that this corruption of nature,
所以这个信仰告白这个强调说，这个罪性的败坏
that we have inherited from Adam,
我们从亚当所传承的，
at least during this life,
至少在今生
does remain in those who are regenerated.
在重生里面仍然还有罪性的存留。
Godly divines emphasize that sin has a shelf life.
这些敬虔的西敏这个神学家牧者们，他们强调说罪还有它的长期作用，
A lingering potency.
他还在那边跃跃欲试的作祟，
That perhaps exceeds even the devil's own
甚至
expectations.
连魔鬼都没想他犯罪最后变成这么可怕的魔鬼。
It was because of their views of the pervasive power of sin.
这是因为这西敏神学家他们看到这个罪的如此的这个蔓延的这个能力，
That the assembly stressed the importance of the conscience.
所以这个西敏大会特别强调这个良心的重要。
Of course, as their 1643 rules of examination suggests,
当然，根据他们1643年所制定的这个所谓考核这个准则来看的话呢，
the assembly's focus on the conscience as a matter of pastoral practice
那就是说，大会强调这个良心，是因为这是一个你教牧侍奉实践上一个很关键的。
was not emphasized merely in its debating chamber in Westminster Abbey,
那这个不是说大会不是强调他们在这个西敏大教堂里面这个房间里在辩论，
but also down the hall in the Jericho parlor.
他们不止也在这个所谓在西敏大教堂这个有一个这个招待这个叫耶利哥招待厅里，他们也在继续讨论这个问题。
The Jericho parlor was the assembly's center for processing
因
examinees.
此耶利哥的这个前厅接待厅，这个是这个整个西敏大会的入口附近，所以是用来在这里开委员会来审核这些教牧人的地方。
The place where they would make trial of a candidate's abilities to work on a conscience.
他们在这里考试就问这个候选人他们的他们是否根据清洁良心有这样来侍奉，
To convict sinners of sin.
他们是不是可以这样来劝告罪人悔改，劝告罪人悔改。
By 1644, the assembly successfully institutionalized the necessity for pastoral proficiency in conscience work.
到1644年的时候，大会很成功的，最后终于制定了这个法规呢，而且这个必要的要求，所有这个教牧人必须有这样子的足够的装备能力来从事这个劝诫良心的工作。
We can see that in the directory for ordination.
所以我们看见这是所谓在这一年有这个所谓制定的这个所谓按牧的这个指南，如何按立教牧人员的指南。
The assembly wanted presbyteries to question candidates
大会要求这个各地的这个区会呢，要来询问这个候选人
regarding his skill in the sense and meaning of such places of Scripture
要他们能够从圣经的经文能够正确的，而且这个熟练的能解释清楚圣经的正义，
as shall be proposed unto him
而且是必须让这个当事人知道，
in cases of
特
conscience.
别是从良心来说。
Understanding human responsibility in sinful actions
当然，我们了解这个关于人的责任如何面对这个犯罪的行为，
meant that the assembly refused to look for quick solutions to the problem of sin.
那换句话说，那意思就是意味着，大会呢不愿意说很随便轻忽的对待罪的问题。
There was no simple way to exorcise sin in the life of a believer.
所以在信徒生命中的这个罪这个内住的罪呢，你没有办法很轻松的就把它像赶鬼似的赶掉了。
The fight against sin required a change of mind as well as a change of heart.
与罪恶征战是带来必须要有你的心灵改变，甚至你的这个思想的改变。
An effective change required preventative care.
所以要带来有果效的改变，是需要先有预防措施、预防的关怀。
The best of which could be found in a good biblical education.
所以预防这个罪恶胜过罪恶的最好的预防的方法是好好的教导，用圣经的话来教导对方。
The assembly wrote 2 explicitly educational texts.
所以这个大会特别写的2个有关这个教育信徒的这个文件。
If you're a Presbyterian or if you're Reformed, you'll know these texts well.
如果你是改革宗或者长老会，你就知道这2份文件叫什么名字了。
They're called the larger and the shorter
是
catechisms.
大要理问答和小要理问答。
They offer a survey of what man is to believe concerning God and the duty which God requires of man.
因为大小要理问答都是分成两大部分，都是这样的。你人在神面前当信什么，那还有人在神面前当尽什么责任。
Nonetheless, each catechism was primarily setting out not merely a system of doctrine.
所以很清楚，这两份要理问答呢，主要还不是只是告诉你这个教义的系统是什么，
They are presenting a plan of salvation,
而是告诉你神的救恩计划，
guiding sinners away from sin.
引导罪人远离罪恶。
Many aspects of biblical history and theology proper are ignored in the catechisms.
所以在这个你看在要理问答里面就没有特别提到像我们刚刚说到这些神学啦、圣经历史就没有提到这些。
It is the necessity and the way of salvation that structures both
那
texts.
是这个救恩的这个必须以及过救恩的生活，这才是要理问答的主要的这个内容。
First, each catechism brings the reader through the historic events of creation, fall, and redemption.
首先，无论大和小要理问答，都这个带领读者呢，要了解当初人类怎么犯罪堕落，这个被造以后堕落以及如何能救赎。
Then both catechisms bring the reader through the penetrating demands of God's law.
然后呢，大小要理问答都开始带领这个读者明白这个上帝的律法的这个深入的要求。
The penalty earned by lawbreakers,
那么这个被约的得到怎么样的刑罚？
and then a call to faith and repentance in
然后
Christ.
呼召罪人悔改信靠基督。
This was a component part of pastoral care.
这是教牧关怀的一个基本的要素。
And the assembly's model for catechetical instruction
那这个大会把这个要理问答的教导成为一个典范。
was offering a church-based solution designed to address the problem of indwelling sin.
那是由教牧侍奉跟教会里的牧养这个解答来向这个来教导信徒如何处理以及胜过内在的罪带来的干扰。
Of course, the assembly's examination questions given in 1643
那么这个当然这个要理问。对不起，这个大会的这个审查考核的问题是1643年开始的。
were issued 4 years before the catechisms were completed.
是在要理问答完成1647年，是4年之前就开始了。
For years, the assembly only asked candidates what they thought of catechizing.
换句话说，在这个要理问答4年之前，这个委员会就问这个候选人说：“你认为这个要理问答的教导如何？”
It looked like an open-ended question.
换句话说，这是一个好像一个答案，是个开放式，不知道对方会怎么回答了。
But there was only one correct answer.
但答案其实只有一个正确答案。
They needed to like catechizing,
他们必须喜欢用要理问答来教导会，
and they needed to know how to do it.
他们必须知道如何做。
Oddly enough, it may have been the candidate's willingness to teach
那当然，我们都会觉得有点奇怪。你看这个候选人的考核的时候，他应当是心甘情愿、愿意来教导要理问答，
even more than his abilities to teach.
甚至呢，他有没有能力教导还是第二位，第一，他到底有没有这个心要来教导要理问答？
That the assembly first examined.
所以这个委员会大会首先考核，先问当这个候选人，你有没有意愿啊？
If so, that did not last long.
如果是这样的话，那你如果没有意愿的话，不会有不能做多久的。
By 1644, the assembly told presbyteries to test the man's ability to catechise.
这个虽然一开始强调是你们的意愿，但是呢，没有多久到1644年，这个就强调这个区会一定要问当事人，你有没有这个能力来教导要理问答，
And a man's ability to visit the sick.
以及这个候选人他有没有这个能力去探望病人。
I'm not quite sure what the assembly meant
我不太清楚要这个大会他们所要强调的。
by its third requirement that a man know the right way to visit the sick.
这个到底什么叫做我们刚刚说到这个引导原则的第17项说到，以及有正确的方式探望病人，什么叫做正确的方式？
In fact, while the problem of suffering features prominently in printed pastoral literature.
那么事实上呢，论到所谓苦难的问题，是这些在教牧这些关怀的所出版的文件上一直是重要的主题。
The duty of a pastor to visit people was warmly debated in the Westminster Assembly.
在这个西敏大会里面，这个牧师要去探望这个病人的这个，他是不是要这样做，该怎么做，这是在这个大会期间就不断热烈讨论的。
The day before these rules for examination were voted,
那在这个按牧这个准则这个要投票表的之前一天，
the assembly spent hours debating whether it was part of the pastoral office to pay visits.
大会在热烈讨论说，花长时间讨论说，到底牧师他的职责包不包括探访病人？
Their first question was whether it was necessary to visit the poor.
第一个问题是问的就是，那么牧师的职责是包含他去探望贫穷人。
Thomas Temple said yes, unequivocally.
那这个 Temple 他说斩钉截铁说一定是要的。
John Jackson and George Walker made the odd proposal that he ought to visit the poor, but not as a pastor, just as a regular person.
所以，但是另外一个 Jackson 和 Walker 他们就提出一个奇怪的这个看法，说牧师应该去探望这个穷苦人，那不是因为他的职责，乃是因为他是一个基督徒。
Edmund Calamy said that he should visit the poor if he could fit it around his other duties.
那另外一个 Calamy 他说了，这个牧师应该去探访这个穷苦人的病人，如果他其他的工作都可以做好的话。
Another English minister and a French minister made the argument that the deacon's office was included in the pastor's office.
那另外英格兰这个人士和一个法国的来自法国代表就辩论说，这个主要这个探访这个应该说教牧侍奉的职分里面这个所谓的包含了这种探望词汇的工作在内。
And therefore he should visit the poor.
所以牧师他应该去探访穷人。
Some argued in principle that it was part of the pastor's office.
有人辩论说，在根据原则，这个探望穷苦病人是教牧的职责之内的。
Others argued pragmatically that it would be good public relations in the parish.
那另外有人辩论说，这个如果在教区里面，就虽然这不是牧师的主要职责，他如果常常去关怀探访，这个会建造好的公共关系、社会关系。
Some argued pessimistically that the job would never get done unless the pastor showed leadership.
那这个另外有些人悲观的说，如果牧师没有彰显出他的这个领导力的话，那这个去探望病人也没有用。
Eventually, the assembly concluded that caring for the poor was a pastoral duty.
最后，大会的结论是说，去照顾贫困的人是牧会关怀的职责，
And a diaconal duty.
也是一个这个执事词汇的关怀的职责，
And a Christian duty.
也是基督徒个人会员的职责。
But it did not specify that the pastor had to visit the poor himself.
但是大会制定文件却没有特别清楚说到牧师自己要去探访穷苦人。
A month later, a group in the assembly tried to restrict the care of the poor to the diaconate.
那后来呢？一个月之后呢，有一些会员想要提案说，那么这个应该把照顾贫困人的这个放在执事的职责里面，不是牧师主要职责。
Others argued that it was a human rather than a Christian concern.
另外有些人说，其实不只是执事的，是每一个基督徒都要有爱心、怜悯的心去关怀穷人。
A member of parliament thought that only Constantine got it right.
那在开会员说，只有这个早期教会这个皇帝康斯坦丁做对了。
Care for the poor was really the job of the state, he argued.
他说，这个照顾贫穷应该是政府的责任。
It was only later taken on by the church, he said.
只是后来被教会拿过来了。
But the assembly added to its growing number of directories.
那么这个大会在指示呢，将这个讨论的这些指南的准则一一加上去。
That the care of the poor was a diaconal duty and a Christian duty.
所以大会指南也加上去，这个探望穷苦病人是牧师的这个关怀里面，也是执事应该要做的，也是每个基督徒都要做的。
Instructions regarding the manner of personal visits to the poor by pastors was never in the assembly's directories.
换句话说，在这个西敏大会的这个指南里面呢，却从来没有说到说这个去如何去探访这个病人，平时是牧师 所关怀里面的一个重要最主要的项目，从来没有这样说到。
But what about visiting the sick?
那这是刚讲的是探望贫穷人，那现在讲的是探望病人了。
In December of 1643, the chairman of one of the Assembly's committees made a two-part proposal.
那么在1643年呢，有一个这个委员会的一个有能力的一个领袖叫 Temple， 他提出这个两个提案。
The first proposition was that it was part of the pastor's office to visit the sick.
第一个提案是说，牧师的职责之一就是要去探望病人。
And the committee cited James chapter 5.
那这个根据的这个经文文会说是根据雅各书第5章14节。
14 members offered 9 distinct responses to the committee's proposal.
那有14个这个开会的会员就提出了这个9个不同的回应，对于这个委员会所说的这个对于牧师职责要探望病人。
These ranged from an insistence that the pastor must visit the sick.
这里不同这种9个看法，从牧师一定要去这样探望病人
all the way to arguments that he must not visit the sick.
那到最后一种看法说，牧师一定不能去探望病人
unless explicitly summoned by a sick person.
除非是病人自己清楚要求牧师去看他，这是一种立场。
Members at the assembly had a concern, and they had good reason for their concern.
那这些会员有不同看法，有他们的理由。
They were worried that visiting the sick could endanger the minister.
他说，因为这些说不是一定要去看病人的原因之一，第一就是如果去这个探望病人的话，可能会让牧师有危险。
And thus endanger his public ministry.
因此也会让他的公开的侍奉遭到这个减损，或者遭到拦阻。
Which William Gouge, for example, argued was his most important calling.
这个有一个 Gouge 这个会员开会，他说公开的侍奉是他牧师最重要的这个呼召。
You need to remember that by the sick, the assembly was not thinking about people with a cold or people with the flu.
那你要知道，当然这个大会说到这个病人，他不是讲说你得到一个流行性的感冒、滤过性病毒的传染。
They were thinking about people with the plague.
他想到是想到这个黑死病啊、流行等等。
And when someone visited those who had the plague, his life expectancy could be about 2 weeks.
所以如果有一个病人得了黑死病或者鼠疫了哈，瘟疫，那你去探望他，你如果被感染到的话，那也就是可能只有2礼拜的性命了。
Others complained that visiting the sick was unreasonable given the size of the parishes.
那另外有人说，教会的这个会员这么多，你要去探望病人，每天忙不完，你也不用准备奖章，准备其他事奉了。
One member thought it was unreasonable given the sheer number of people who were dying.
那另外有人说，你看这么多人在死亡威胁下，这么多病，那你天天去看这些病人都看不完。
Another member said that he hoped the boundaries of parishes would be changed and thus make visits more feasible.
那有一个这个开会提议说，应该把重分教区这个堂点的这管的范围比较小一点，他才能真正照顾到这个范围里面的这些病人。
Thomas Young said that visiting the sick was a Lutheran rather than a Reformed idea.
让这个会开会，他说这个探望病人是路德宗的看法，不是改革宗的看法。
Francis Taylor said that his Reformed friends in Switzerland agreed with the Lutherans, that it was the pastor's duty.
那个 Taylor 说他在瑞士的朋友说，改革宗教说这个他们的看法跟路德宗是一样，是牧师的职责是要探望病人。
Philip Nye twice announced that the visitation of the sick was the privilege of a Christian, not the duty of a pastor.
另外一个 Nye 他说，去探望病人是每一个基督徒的特权，而不是牧师的主要责任。
As Philip Nye saw it, the key question for the debate was this.
所以这个 Nye 他认为说，这个真正辩论的关键所在。
When the assembly was talking about pastoral care, were they looking at his private duties or his public duties?
意思是说，那么当论到这个教牧关怀，到底是牧师的他的职责，是他的公开的这个责任，还是他私下去探访病人？
One of the places where there were a lot of sick people was jail, prison.
那这个有个地方是常常有很多病人，就是叫监牢。
So it made sense that a debate about visiting the sick soon became a debate about visiting people in prison.
所以当你说要去探望病人的时候，到最后结果就是你要讨论到是不是要去探望监牢里面的病人，病人最多。
But what about the second point that the committee made?
那这个委员会提的第二个提案是什么呢？
It seems to have received little attention at all.
那看来它并没有被大家所注意到。
Because in addition to recommending the visitation of the sick,
那因为这个提案说到，除了是要去探望病人之外，
the committee said that the pastor should watch over his flock in private.
他这个提案说到，牧师应该要注意牧养他的这个羊群在私下生活里。
The proof text that was used for visiting the flock in private was an unusual one.
那么这个说到说要去探望到这个会有家中做私下探访，这个是很独特的、特别的。
The committee cited Acts 20, verses 28 to 31.
委员会的提案里根据使徒行传20章28到31节。
Acts 20, verse 20 was a common place for urging home visitation.
所以20章20节是讲到保罗去探望个人家中，就表示是一个鼓励你要去探望这个家里面，去探望信徒的家人。
There the apostle says, I did not shrink from declaring to you anything that was profitable and teaching you in public and from house to house.
保罗说，关于对你们有益的这个生活教训，我没有让避讳，比如说无论在公开或在个人家里，表示他到个人家里去探访了。
But verses 28 to 31 were really about the minister's self-watch and vigilance against error in the church.
所以在20章28到30也特别讲到做长老要注意，要做一个监督，免得有狼群来到这个地区，要防范异端。
It was not a great case for home visitation.
所以这个关于到家里面去照顾，好像不是一个特别要做的事情。
And the assembly eventually moved on.
所以这个大会认为说，这个就继续下去了，就没有注意这个提案。
The requirement that pastors know how to visit the sick does not sit easily with the whole day spent debating whether pastors should visit the sick.
那么这个牧师他要去探望这个病人，那这个怎么做的？这个还不是你花整天时间去辩论牧师应不应该去探访病人。
But it does help to explain why the Assembly's directories keep emphasizing that deacons and Christians really needed to visit the poor and the sick.
至少大会的讨论呢带来的结果就是说，让我们看见不只是牧师要探望病人，那么执事是他主要的工作，探望病人。那一般的信徒个人也都有这个职责要探望这个周围的病人。
It also helps to explain why the Assembly's directory for visiting the sick qualifies the pastor's duty.
换句话说，所以就说明了为什么这个大会制定的探望病人这些讨论这些指南呢，也说明了这个到底牧师的职责和主要职责是什么。
He's only to visit the sick as time, strength, and personal safety will permit.
大会文件说，他要在他的能力、时间、体力足够情况之下，他才去探望病人。
And even then, especially when sent for.
特别是当这个要求来了，病人很危急的，有要求来说你要去要求你就要去了。
But when the assembly did talk about visiting the sick,
所以当这个大会的确讨论到探望病人的细节的时候
it wasn't physical sickness that was to be the pastor's main concern.
那大会强调很清楚，并不是因为这个病人得了身体疾病啊，快要死了，所以你去探望他，主要不是这个理由。
What is the overwhelming emphasis in the directory for visiting the sick?
在这个所制定的这个探望这个病人的指南里面，最主要、最强调的是，不是这个看他的病啊，他的软弱，他快要死，不是这个。
It's not really about comforting the sick person.
也不是去安慰他，让他比较舒服。
As it is seizing the opportunity to do some spiritual good.
乃是借这个机会来造就他的灵命，对他灵命有益处。
Prayer for healing is only given a passing reference.
那所以祷告求主医治他，这只是提一下而已，不是重点。
The greater part of the directory is about the problem of sin.
这个指南所提到主要部分是如何处理的病人他的罪灵命的问题。
Let me read you what it says.
让我来读一段这里所说的。
Times of sickness and affliction are special opportunities put into his hand by God.
这指南是说，当这个会有生了病或是遭到苦难的时候，是一个特别的机会，是上帝把这个机会放在手中啊。
To minister a word in season to weary souls.
放在这个传道人手中，这牧师就应该去对这个软弱、灰心的灵魂呢，来传讲神的话语劝诫。
Because then the consciences of men are or should be more awakened to think about their spiritual estate for eternity.
因为在这个会员这个弟兄姐妹生病的时候，他的良心应该或者说应该被唤醒，更加来思想自己的灵命光景，以及为了永恒来预备。
And because Satan takes special advantage of them.
因为这个撒旦在时候特别攻击他们。
Trying to load them with sore and heavy temptations.
在这些会友们生病的时候，不断的把更多的这个痛苦啦、更厉害的试探加在这病人身上。
Therefore, a minister being sent for and going to the sick.
因此，所以这个牧师被招请去帮助的病人
is to speak with all tenderness and love.
那是用温柔爱的话语来。
To minister some spiritual good to his soul.
灵命上带来灵命上的这个辅导帮助，来医治这个病人的灵魂。
All drafts of the directory for visiting the sick include reminders of the inevitability of death.
所有这些这个指南里面的这些文件的草稿里面都说到，去探望病人包含了要提醒病人说，我们大家每个人最终都会死。
All patients in the hands of physicians will die eventually.
因为所有给医生看病的病人到最后都还是会死，是吧？
It is the unique task of pastors to help some patients live forever.
所以这是牧师的职责，去灵魂的医生去帮助某神的选民、神的这些病人呢，他们能够活到永远。
But the tone of the final version of the directory is more than just realistic.
那这个前面说这是在这个文件前面几版的草稿里面，到最后写成定案的这个文件里面，这个用的强调的字语更加清楚了。
Sometimes it's even oppressive.
意思说不只是这个实际上实践的更有的时候更是一个强有力的这个指导性的。
The sick person ought to be shown his sin.
那就是这个指南最后公布出来，这个决定出来，只能说到病人探望他，一定要指出他的罪来。
It might be fit or appropriate to raise him up with the gospel.
那而且呢是合适的，指出他的罪来，要悔改，而且借着福音使他能够重新被建立起来。
It's an embarrassing mistake on my part.
那对我来说，我犯了一个错误，觉得很不好意思。
Not to have seen that the handwritten note which changes the tone in the directory was written by the House of Commons, not by the Assembly.
那我后来才发现呢，这个文件里面就是手写的这个文字呢，这个有这个语气，这个很强烈的这样表达说，他应该要告他罪什么等等。这个是这个下议院的把这个西敏大会的这个指南修改的用词更加强烈了。
The Assembly's version was a little bit friendlier. The politicians made it a little bit grouchier.
所以西敏大会所制定的这个探望病人指南的用词比较温和，但是这个国会里面最后把它改成更强烈，所以这些律师、这些法律专家就用了法律字眼，你应该告诉病人他的罪应该怎么治。
Problems in living are complicated subjects.
我想那时候的生活很应该是复杂的哈。
So there are boundary disputes in this discussion were inevitable.
所以我们看到这个，所以国会可以修改这个指南上的用词，用更强烈的表达用词。所以可见这个到底这个权限的这个界限在哪呢？
But the House of Commons is confident that they can improve on the Assembly's counsel for the sick.
所以可见下议院的这个议员，他们觉得他们更有能力来帮助这个西敏大会制定的指南文件，更能够表达清楚，他们认为他们是专家，可以做得更好。
Did not bode well for future assembly proposals.
所以他们对于这个大会后来的提案，他们有些方面并不完全赞成，或甚至有一些冲突哈。
The problem of boundary disputes which was obvious in the Assembly's exchanges with Parliament,
所以当这个大会跟国会之间这个文件往的时候，你发现他们常常会这个权限的范围有些不同争议啊。
is more frequently raised in the writings of its members.
特别是就这个写信，这个你可以看到开会的这些人，他们个人所写的信件里面表达出他们对国会有些不同看法的争执或不满。
Let me mention quickly a couple areas where pastoral theology was sometimes polemical theology.
那有时候我举出一些地方讨论到，有时候你说牧会这个关怀里面变成为一个所谓争论的所在了。
The first is in the pseudo-scientific and spiritual realms.
第一个是讲到所谓假冒科学之名这些来讨论的事情啊。
Assembly members worried about people who supplemented or alloyed Christian teaching with astrology or animism.
就是比方说，所谓什么是真正的灵命的问题，什么是所谓的这些假冒科学性。比方说，在当时呢，这些西敏大会开会的神学家都担心人们会被这些错误，比方说占星啦、卜卦啦这些精灵主义所影响，混杂了这个基督的纯正教导。
Because people turn to these things to help them cope with the uncertainties of life.
因为当时也有人去占星算命，基督徒那这样做的。那这样的话，因为他们对人生许多不确定，不知道发生什么事，他们担心，所以才会去这样搞占星算命啊。
People in churches were seeking answers from illegitimate authorities rather than seeking the pastor's biblical help.
换句话说，这个教会里面的会员，他们去寻找这些不合圣经的、这些不合法的、这些错误的、这些占星或算命的这些权威，而不真正来寻求牧师的帮助。
Roman Catholicism also offered a rival method of pastoral care.
那罗马天主教在大会眼中，他们也是提供一个这个违反圣经的教牧关怀的方法。
It smothered the guilty conscience with the dirty gauze of empty routines.
那只要你知道自己有罪，必须要在教会望弥撒、告解、遵守这些空洞的仪式，让你觉得好像这样可以得到帮助。
And then the whole episcopal system was problematic.
那整个圣公会这种主教监督制也是问题多多。
They claimed that pastoral care was properly the work of bishops only.
因为这些圣公会主教认为说，教牧关怀唯独是主教专有的工作。
The godly insisted that this was a dream that never existed in reality.
那这个西敏大会这些近前的神学家说，这个根本是妄想的，只有主教要做教牧关怀，这根本是无法实现的。
They also argued that the contacts people did have with bishops drove them away from useful pastoral care.
这些他们也辩论说，他们所知道，人们的确是因为这些主教呢的缘故，所以反而更加远离教牧关怀了。
But what is the most powerful neighbor to the physician of the soul?
那么对于这个牧师既然是灵魂的医生的话呢，那么什么是他最有能力的这个邻居呢？
It's the physician of the body.
那就是身体的医生啊。
The volume of medical literature and the focus on body care was an indirect competition with spiritual care.
所以一大堆这些怎么好好照顾身体，吃什么食物，吃什么药啦，以及去看这个身体医生呢，常常成为使得会有不去寻求牧师属灵医生的帮助的一个拦阻。
Pastors began to complain that people went to their doctors more quickly and followed them more closely.
所以会有常常这样子做的，所以牧师抱怨说，他们常一有问题去找他们身体医生，不来找我们这些属灵的医生。
Paying better attention to them than they did the physicians of their souls.
所以我们会有常常听他们这个家庭或是专科医生意见，却不听属灵医生牧师的建议。
Furthermore, a small number of natural cause accounts for problems in living began to appear.
另外，当时呢，有些天灾人祸，那怎么办呢？
These were troubling because these natural problems had been typically considered to be the result or the manifestation of spiritual problems, whether caused by sin or Satan.
所以这些天灾人祸，当时很多是认为这背后是撒旦魔鬼带来的这个灾害、危害等等，是罪的问题。
Nonetheless, medical literature was at most a general threat in the 1640s.
总而言之，在当时来说，由于医疗人们去听身体的医生的话，不听这个牧师属灵建议，这常常是属灵教牧关怀的最大的抵挡势力。
To borrow a phrase from David Powlison,
从这个Powlison 老师的话借一句来说
the clergy still held cultural jurisdiction over personal problems.
所以这个教牧人员仍然在文化上具有这个权柄来处理这个个人的问题。
In fact, in its easy use of the medical community's own vocabulary,
所以呢，可以使用这个所谓医药方面所用的这些专用的这些字眼名词。
The assembly still showed a confidence in the preeminence of spiritual care.
所以意思说，他们虽然使用这些医疗用的字眼，显示说这个大会的神学家们仍然认为说，这个属灵的这一个治疗是他们有信心认为这个还是比身体治疗来更重要。
In considering vocabulary,
考虑到说使用这些词汇、这些用词
the assembly itself would rarely run with the metaphor in its writings in the way that a preacher might in a sermon.
换句话说，这个牧师在讲道人所用的这些用词，比照这个牧养关怀的用的用词呢，就不一样啊。
A directory calls ministers to examine the sick.
有一个文件叫做去探望病人的这个检查审查。
To administer spiritual good to them.
来让他们这个带来属灵的益处给他们。
To offer comfort for spiritual infirmity.
给这个心灵软弱的带来了安慰。
These are all medical words.
这些都是医疗用语。
But the gathering did not employ any particular motif to help illumine the work of pastoral care.
那么然而大会开会制定文件并没有只专门用某种特别的这个主题或比喻来讲到教牧关怀。
The pastoral theology of individual members, however, was informed by two words.
然而参加大会这些会员神学家们，他们自己所写的著作里面却常常使用两个常用的字眼
：shepherd and physician.
那就是牧者和医生。
And the latter idea, that of the physician, was often developed into something like a model for pastoral care.
所以这些著作里面，这些个人著作里面常常使用的医生来说明这一个教牧关怀牧者是医生啊。
Of course, the idea of a minister as a shepherd is everywhere in the scriptures.
当然，圣经早就说到，这个牧师是牧者、牧养主的百姓，这个到处都是圣经写的。
The idea of a minister as a physician is more muted.
但是你看圣经的话，比较少提到这个牧师是一个属灵的医生，这个就很少提到了。
And yet, members collected biblical references to sin as sickness.
然而，这些参加大会的神学家们，他们的著作显示，他们汇编许多经文，说明这个生病啊。
To salvation as healing.
那也说到罪是生病，那么救恩是医治。
And then they extended the metaphor through the use of early modern medical ideas.
而且他们也就在个人著作里面用了很多这些现代早期医学的这些用词观念。
Epidemiology stood for hermatology.
比方说病原学来描述这个罪的原因啊。
Things pharmaceutical for matters soteriological.
这个药理学来强调这如何治疗呢，就讲到这个救恩论了。
Euphemisms for sin and its cure offered endless ways of addressing pastoral priorities.
所以用不同这些其他生病、这些其他的医学名词来说明什么是罪啦，什么是治疗，常常充满在他们所写的这些论到这个教牧侍奉的主要的这个职责。
For what Assembly member Thomas Gattaker called our spiritual disease.
所以这个开会的这个会员叫做 Gattaker， 他在他所写的教牧这个关怀的信里面说到这个是的这个教牧关怀是要来这个人的罪、人的乱象等等。
Ministers were guiding men and women afflicted with spiritual cancers that no mere man could cure.
所以罪就是属灵的疾病，那个牧师传道人要引导弟兄姐妹、受苦弟兄姐妹呢，要认识到这个罪是属灵的癌症啊，没有办法人可以医治的。
Both the idea of shepherd and physician offered models for confident, invasive pastoral care.
换句话说，总而言之，这个牧者、牧羊人和医生这两个图画呢，在实际应用上是使得这个教牧侍奉可以带出这个有信心，而且有这个可以真正的这个进入这个会有这个需要的生命中。
The medical model especially encouraged pastors to think of themselves not merely as physicians for the sick.
就是这个医疗的这个图画呢，让这个牧师记住自己不只是去所谓说安慰这个病人
but as surgeons for the wounded.
不只是内科医生来这个让他减轻痛苦，更是外科医生割除毒瘤。
And of the two, the idea of the pastor as God's physician is the most dominant image in member-produced literature on pastoral care.
所以这些西敏大会的这个会员神学家，他们所写作的这些书里面显示出，他们常常强调这个牧师是上帝差来的医生，是属灵的医生。
Now, I've given you a lecture on pastoral theory.
那我给你的这个以上讲解是论到所谓教牧关怀的理论。
That's at least 2 steps removed from the member's own experience.
这个是其实是已经走了2步啊，离开了这些大会的神学家们他们所写的著作里面所强调的。
First, we're hearing from the pastors and not from those who received care.
第一个，我们以上所讨论都是从这些做牧者他们的书信、他们或者大会文件里面看这个怎么样叫做他们的这个关怀。我们没有从会员领受这个教牧关怀的角度来看。
And we all know that sometimes theory does not translate well into practice.
所以有的时候我们知道这个教牧关怀有这个理念，但是呢，如何实际化成这个行动这个做法，这是另外一回事了。
I should also say this.
我也应当这样说。
If I've presented something like a system of pastoral care,
如果我提供大家这个教牧关怀的一个系统的话
a clear set of priorities from the assembly and its members,
从这个大会的这个会员他们所写的书信里面看的话，把这个优先次序列出来了。
it's hard to find something quite this orderly in the writings of the assembly or its members themselves.
所以无论在大会的文件或是这些会员的自己个人的这个著作里面，你很少找到说这个它的次序是乱的。
I'm gathering bits and pieces from all over the place and assembling them to try and present a picture.
所以大会他们收集各方面的这个讨论并的看法，合在一起，希望给到一个图画。
The assembly does not provide the clearest picture for pastoral care.
意思说，大会并没有制定文件指南，把这个如何从事教牧侍奉1、2、3、4、5列出来，这个细节的操作步骤不是这样列出来的。
What the assembly did do was offer a focused attack on sin.
那然而在大会所制定的指南，主要是焦点是在如何来抵挡罪恶、攻击罪恶。
The rules for examination,
比方说这个考核的这个要点
clashes with parliament,
和这个国会有冲突的意见，
criticisms about competitors,
那么不同的这个来想要竞争的不同看法，
all of these swirl around the topic of sin.
这些讨论的文件著作的都围绕就是到底如何面对罪的问题。
Likewise, the main pastoral motifs about pastoral care.
所以因此呢，这个同样的关于教牧这个关怀的这个教牧的这个图画这个主题，
They offer easy access to the topic of sin.
他们总是很快就要谈到这个罪的问题。
Shepherds and their senseless sheep.
那么，比如牧羊人对待这些无知的这个倔强的羊群，
Doctors and their ailing patients.
那么医生和他们痛苦的病人。
But as the assembly understood the pastoral task,
当这个大会的神学家们他们了解这个教牧的工作，
an understanding of sin was a prerequisite to an understanding of the Savior.
那他们都清楚说明着，了解罪的严重可怕是必须的，才能够真的认识救主如何拯救我们。
In one of its texts, the assembly insisted that the conscience merely needed to be awakened.
那么在有一个这个文件里面，大会坚持说，这个首先教牧关怀第一个要做就是说，把他的这个良心重新复苏起来，
so that the pastor could administer tenderness and love.
使得这个牧师可以呢，把自己这个作为一个工具，带来这个慈爱啦、温柔的劝诫。
The sinner's conscience needed to be pricked,
这个罪人的良心需要被刺透，
so that he or she could apprehend the justice and wrath of God.
他才能够清楚认识、明白上帝的公义和刑罚、愤怒是什么。
They needed to be lost in themselves, so they could lay hold of Christ by faith.
他们应该要失去自己，舍去自己，他们才能够真正的抓住基督。
The Catechism discusses the law in order to get to the gospel.
所以这个要流呢，先就讲解什么是律法，讲到福音。
Now, the Directory for Visiting the Sick admits that pastors don't always get this right.
那这个关于这个探望病人这个指南显示出呢，牧师去探访病人呢，在这个实践上常常没有平衡好，没有抓住要点。
It cautions the minister also is to take care that he cast him not down into despair.
因为这个指南里面警告说，牧师应该要很小心谨慎的，不要安慰这个传讲这个怎么讲劝诫病人，让他陷入他的绝望，觉得没有盼望了。
By such a severe representation of the wrath of God due to him for his sins, as is not tempered or mollified by a seasonable propounding of Christ and his merits.
意思是说，你不要传讲这个上帝法，这个到个地步，你让他觉得我没有盼望了，我该死了，我犯了这么多的罪等等。但另外一方面呢，也不要好像减轻了没有关系，你犯了小罪了没有关系，还是可以上天堂，也不能这样子，两个极端要避免。
The models for pastoral care produced by assembly members could direct people to Jesus.
所以这个大会所制定的这个教牧关怀的指南是要引导罪人归向基督。
Both the pastor and the parishioner.
不只是这个牧师或是这个被探访的病人都要归向基督。
The practitioner was merely an under shepherd of the good shepherd.
因为
An intern of the great physician.
因为这个牧师不过是大牧者的这个助理，那么以及这个唯一伟大属天的大医生主耶稣的实习医生罢了。
Edward Reynolds wrote about the ministers as healers of the sick.
那这个 Reynolds 他说到这个牧师是医治病人的。
But he explained that the metaphor leads us to look upon sinners as patients and God as the physician.
所以也同时他也说到这种图画说，这个罪人呢是病人，而真正的医生是上帝。
There is much that could and should be said about the Westminster Assembly and the care of souls.
关于西敏大会如何在关怀牧养灵魂的事，还有许多可以说的。
Because I talked about it yesterday, I've said nothing about preaching.
昨天我已经讲到，所以今天我没有讲到这个讲到的。
Preaching was important in part because it was efficient for pastors.
因为这个讲道也是很重要，牧师要讲解传讲神的话语。
Sin is a pandemic.
因为这个罪恶是像个流行病一样。
And like managers of the World Health Organization, practitioners need to make resources stretch as far as possible.
所以这个像世界卫生组织，它处理世界各地的流行病学，它需要有这资源，有这个资源能够处理这些问题。
Preaching was also prioritized in pastoral care for another reason.
所以你讲解神的话语，使得这个牧会关怀的牧师，他有这个资源，有这个来源可以去安慰、去治疗这个病人，所以一定要讲解、讲道、讲圣经。另外，这个讲道这个很重要的原因是。
Preaching permitted the pointed and powerful application of necessary truths.
因为讲道的时候是把圣经的讲解是大有能力的这个运用在这个病人生命中，这个是必要真理要传给他。
To the hearts and consciences of men.
对人的这个心灵、人的良心来说，都是绝对需要的。
Or as John Arrowsmith explained.
或者如果 Arrowsmith 他所说的。
Preaching allowed people to know how Christ by his own death has changed the death of his people into medicine.
那么他说了这个讲道传讲神的话语，使得这个人们这个知道这个基督借着他自己为我们受死呢，就改变了废除死亡，意思说把甚至死亡的经历成为一个医治我们灵魂的良药。
Now, one thing will be obvious to all of you at this point.
那有一件事，我想大家都很清楚到现在。
I've been emphasizing the minister and his talking, what he has to say.
我强调这个大会所制定这些指南是你要如何向病人传讲什么。
But of course, an important part of ministry is listening.
但另外一个重要的这个是你要去聆听这个病人所说的。
And the directory for visiting the sick mentions that too.
那么这个所谓这个探望病人的指南里的文件也说到你要去注意聆听病人说什么。
The pastor is to offer his counsel based on information he gleans from the patient.
那么你这个 牧师要提供这个病人这个安慰这个辅导，你要根据病人说出他什么问题，你要听清楚之后才能对症下药。
And like a good doctor, he's to be situationally aware.
所以就像好的医生，他需要先听病人讲，了解病情是什么。
He's to only pray with and for the patient when the sick person is best composed.
所以当这个病人把他问题讲出来，真正了解情况之后，他才能够真正为病人祷告，与病人一起祷告。
Or maybe least disturbed.
至少不会就说至少不要这个错误的打扰他。
Or when he won't get in the way of those who are trying to help the patient.
所以这样的话，要不然他不能真正帮助到病人。所以就说你要用恰当的话，了解病情来说，对症下药，免得你错误的引导。
So a good bedside manner is important for pastors too.
所以这个临床或者说到病人旁边的这个态度也很重要。
But here's a point of critique.
这里有一些评论。
Arguably, the assembly's focus on the heart of the sick person.
明显的这个可以辩论说，这个西敏大会强调的这病人的心是如何。
It arguably privileges the spiritual aspect of personal existence, sometimes at the expense of the body and the mind of the patient.
所以，那有的时候，当你可以看得出来，这个大要有问答的文件强调是人他的心理状况，那也是需要知道他的这个身心症真的是分不开的啊。
One more note in closing.
意思说不要忽略身体状况跟心理关系。还有一个在结束我们要提到的是。
I've not really mentioned the Westminster Assembly's do-it-yourself literature.
我没有提到这个西敏大会他们所提供这些资源是你自己要去查考的资料。
The Assembly members and others wrote literature that addressed a wide range of life problems.
这些西敏大会的神学家牧师，他们写了很多著作文章，很多方面涵盖到这个教牧关怀。
They printed this topical literature in the forms of sermons or books.
他们出版像讲章或者书籍
And using indexes in these books, people could to some degree self-diagnose their problems.
甚至在他们书中文章里面写出这个自我检查的方式，所以这个读者都可以自己检查自己的灵命。
But even this literature still focused on the conscience.
即使如此，这些文件、这些作品仍然在强调这个人的良心。
A call to do something more than just change behavior.
不只是叫这个当事人要改变你的行为而已。
But rather, it called people to a thoroughgoing dependence on God.
而是要邀请病人当事人完全要依靠上帝才行。
Well, the assembly ended unceremoniously.
那这个我们知道，这个西敏大会最后结束了，没有个避会礼拜。
Its proposals for church government were implemented for a little while.
那这是继续这个所谓说有他们提出这个教会治理的这些继续一段时间。
And then adopted or ignored as people wished.
然后这个按照人们所说的就这样子。
Its theological texts were popular with Scottish people and dissenters, English dissenters.
所以我们说这个在英格兰的教会治理就很短的时间，后来就被改掉了，然后在苏格兰却生根发展出来。
But ironically, the last word about the activities of the assembly was in a newspaper.
那我们注意到这个西敏大会这个结束的时候，怎么知道这个是从这个当地的报纸的消息报道
discussing the most recent round of ministers who were examined by the assembly.
大会最后做的工作是他们就在继续考察这些教牧人员，然后考察通过的不通过就报纸会登出来，所以从这报纸知道最后大会做的是这个。
And it might be that in the examination of those ministers,
可能是在考察这些教牧人员的时候
that the assembly had the greatest impact on its own generation.
换句话说，就是因为整个大会这10年都在继续不断的考察牧师和新进的教牧人员，那么使得在当时来说带来极大的影响。
Thank you for listening.
谢谢大家的聆听。好，我们现在开始 now the time for Q&A。首先，我们要请我们的faculty member to respond。我们今天感谢主有叶启多牧师、杨敦信牧师，还有张玉国牧师，还有其他的 如果没有的话，我们就先请这3位。那我们请Dr. Tim is response first， 所以请叶牧师，那个有。
Thank you again for enlightening us on some of the details of the Westminster Assembly's proceedings, and especially in terms of their model or debates over pastoral care. Their emphasis on sin, even to the point of someone who's maybe even on their deathbed with the plague, as you mentioned, maybe seems a little imbalanced or strict, as it were, very stern in their approach, and maybe less obvious emphasis on comfort in death, like the Heidelberg, maybe first question, and what is your only comfort in life and in death? That's to be very reassuring and comforting. I wonder if you could comment more on contextual stuff going on. Like last night, you said there was discipline against bad ministers who were in very wicked conditions, very, very obviously not doing anything to save souls and minister saving faith, the message of the gospel to people. There's the Rome ceremony thing that they're sort of engaged against. So did they see this as the most fundamental problem, that it also was a cultural issue in the context that was being neglected and ignored? They had to bring the church back to its central focus as gospel preaching and ministering and leading to saving faith, as chapter 14 of the Confession. And maybe less of an emphasis on comfort, at least in the things you mentioned today. Maybe in their personal writings, I know they were very, very much interested in comforting the weak and the weary as well. Richard Sibbs, Bruce Lee, and so on. But I wonder if you could comment more on their context. Was it almost reactionary, if that's the word, or trying to rebuild something that was most significant in the culture that was lacking? Or did it show up in other ways that they really did have that comfort of the sick and dying as well? There is a chapter in the Confession on providence, but even there, they take a turn and say, God uses providence to humble us and bring us low and raise us up, back to a more diligent use of the means of grace and so on and so on. But yet, his ultimate will was literally so.
所以我问他，就是说，在他们的处境、环境还有文化里面，可能要面对很多不同的问题。这个就是要注意最大的责任，可能是说他们的面对罪的状况，病人在也在他病床隔壁给他就是比较责备的、比较严格的一个教导。你的罪在哪里，或是你的罪行有没有悔改，有没有预备跟主见面？没有很多安慰的一些主题，在他今天的分享或是他发现的研究。所以这就是因为他们觉得他们的处境就忽略这个重要点，因为有罗马天主教给他们很多行为的处理方式，还有因为有这个昨天晚上他谈了很多，就坏的牧师都没有负责任做一些用他们的位置做犯罪，所以他们要恢复这个基本的要求，还有责任，还有考虑说大要西敏信条像第5关于神的护理也会提到神就第5章对西敏信条第5章好像有一些安慰在里面，可是其实第5章第5节还是会
引导人说，因为有进入一些试探，可能会发现自己最新的，还有为了成长，还有处理走出来了。所以其实在这里也会提到这个罪的问题，还有面对它的重要性。安慰点不太清楚，不太多。
So thank you for another good question.
谢谢你们提出一个很好的问题。
And again, not an easy one to try and answer.
同样不是容易回答的问题。
I'm thinking this is one of your specialties.
我在想到你的专长哈。
I do think that it's helpful to remember that most people who call for the pastor to visit would be dying.
我真的知道这个问题。当人们特别招请牧师来，大概是他真的是这个临终的危险。
And so the main reason why there's a focus on sin and salvation is because they're trying to get people ready for heaven.
那所以呢，这样说来，招牧师来的临终危险状况，他们要面对他们罪的问题、得救问题，所以他们要预备到天家去哈。
Nonetheless, there is something more to say.
还有更多可以说的哈。
I think that the assembly was trying to remove excuses for sin.
那我想这个西敏大会是想要让人们不要有借口犯罪啊。
This is the interest in the conscience.
换句话说，这个首先要省察良心。
And they are resistant to their approach is resistant to excuses for sin, perhaps to the point of being not very interested in the contexts of sin.
所以换句话说，西敏大会强调是你要面对这个你的心的良心问题，也许没有太注重这个所谓这个周围发生的背景的因素。
The only document written by the assembly that I can think of that deals with the context of sin.
那我想，唯一我所发现的这个大会所发表的文件里面呢，有一个讲到这个罪的犯罪的背景因素。
Is the larger catechism.
是大要理问答。
But the larger catechism only discussed the context in which a sin occurs.
那大论呢是讨论是罪发生的这个环境背景因素是什么。
In order to explain its aggravating effects, not its mitigating circumstances.
那讲到这个，它当这个所以这个带来这个可怕的这个后果情况。
I think there's an analogy between the Assembly's approach and J. Adams's approach.
我想可以来比较一下这个西敏大会的这个进入和所谓亚当斯的进入。
The main concern is that they not allow people to wiggle out of a conviction of sin.
主要就是说，他们的这个关切共同就是不要让人们找理由，因为这个有借口去犯罪啊。
And that is the concern, that is so much the concern that there's less interest in environmental or hereditary promptings to sin.
所以就既然是如此，所以就没有那么注重去强调这个犯罪造成的背景因素啦，什么遗传的因子这些问题，不再讨论这些事情。
Does that make sense?
这个是。
I think I'll add one more thing to this.
我想还有再补充一点。
Even in the case of the mentally ill.
即使在所谓的心理疾病
，the assembly was willing to allow
这个西敏大会是愿意容让
that some very dysfunctional people
在许多这个精神失常的人
with very unusual and strange symptoms
是有很多很奇怪的这些异状的这个情况
were sometimes guilty sinners evidencing an uneasy conscience in bizarre ways.
很多时候其实是显示出他们心里面的罪以及不安的良心，说才会有外在这些很奇怪奇异的这些动作症状出现。
That's definitely not a full answer to your question, but that's the direction. Those are the directions in which I would head.
对，当然不是想全面回答的问题。所以换句话说，这些人即使精神病等等，它里面还是有罪的因素，是关键。好。谢谢。我们下面请杨敦新牧师。
I don't have any question, but I appreciate you because
Is it on? Okay.
I have a question for you, yet appreciation, because from yesterday night and today, I heard a lot from your teaching using Westminster Confession, using Westminster Directory to stress pastoral issue, which is something very important. I think that this is something that we seldom hear. Whenever we hear about Westminster Confessions, it's more like systematic theology. That's what people expect. But right now, I think it is very, I would say, helpful as a teacher of practical theology, pastoral theology, which is something that I certainly would stress in my teaching. Appreciate it. Thank you. 谢谢我们的老师特别用这个西敏的一些指南来帮助，特别是在教牧的这个侍奉上，特别是我们当我们听到这个西敏的时候，我们常常会想到系统神学比较教条式的说法，那这个是比较教牧这个是对我作为一个老师的这个很多的这个帮助以及提醒。谢谢。
好，谢谢。下面请张玉国牧师讲。
好，我先提一个，就是我们探访病人的问题就是我不知道西方人状况，就是说华人的信徒就算在牧师的面前，他们也不好意思把他的罪讲得很清楚。他们就叫有时候我们稍微提一下，其实他自己心里想到，他自己跟上帝去祷告解决，这是他比较舒服的地方。因为如果一个病人他病得很严重，我还跟他你可能是犯了什么罪，或者心里是不是觉得什么罪要去处理了，就好像直接把他的病跟他的罪放在一起。当然，一个病人如果他很明显知道这一次的病痛，上帝在管教我，他可能直接讲出来。如果那大部分情况不是这样，这个我们是不是一定要在探访中要让他们知道他们的病跟罪一定有关系？
你要不要自己翻译一下？
谢谢，请。
The question some cultural difference. You don't know Western past how to visit the sick Chinese. If you go to the bedside and tell him you have Chinese sin, but usually the patient will not speak because culture don't want to lose face. Then to say, "Oh, I'm sick," without showing the true picture in his heart. Then the pastor come over and say that you say your sin and your disease connect together. Sometimes may cause problems. So how do you handle this? Are you directly having the patient?
So I'm having trouble hearing because you're speaking quietly. My hearing is not what it used to be. I'm sorry.
So the question is that for the Chinese culture, if the pastor telling the patient, so you are a sinner, because of sin, you got this disease, it's kind of offending. So is that the right moment to tell the patient that because your sin created this problem? So sometimes the pastor saying politely, implicitly, maybe you have something in your heart, that the patient will know in which way, how to deal with this kind.
So the Westminster Assembly would not recommend linking sickness to a particular sin necessarily.
对，西敏大会他不会认为说，今天这个病人信徒他生这个病是因为他特别犯了一个罪，没有这样子的直接联系关系啊。
They would not be saying, you're dying because you did this or that.
牧师们不会说你现在要死，因为你犯了这个罪，不是这样子。
Or even, you're sick because of something that you did.
也甚至也不会说，因为你现在生的病是因为你做了那个事情啊。
Their point is that that people's consciences are often awakened when they are sick.
医的主要的这个中心是关键是，当这个一个人生病的时候，他的良心开始发挥功用了啊。
They have time to think when they're laying in bed.
他躺在
In
床
a
上
busy life, we don't often think.
他忙的时候没有时间想，但他躺在床上无事可做，就开始想，我从良心开始发挥功用啊。
And for some patients, Satan particularly attacks them when they're sick.
所以，当有些病人他生病的是撒旦特别的攻击他也是有的。
You're sick. See, God doesn't love you.
所以，比方说，撒旦就说：“你看你生病了，上帝不爱你。”
So this is a unique moment to talk about Christ.
所以这是一个独特的时候来讲到基督。
But some people, even in the midst of their sickness, refuse to think about heaven, hell, and sin.
那有些人他生病的时候，他甚至他也不想，他拒绝讨论到天堂、地狱这些问题。
And that's when they want the minister to say, "Are you ready to die?"
所以当这个这是为什么西敏大会说牧师应该要帮助病人预备这个，你是预备好要死离开世界了。
You're a sinner. You know what happens to sinners without Christ, and so on.
你知道是个罪人，那如果没有基督的话，不信靠基督的话，结果会如何？你知道。
So it's that more general application that I'm thinking of.
所以我想到是比较这个一般性，怎么样向病人让他就是鼓励他思想这个问题的良心恢复它的功能啊。
Does that address your question?
这是回答的问题吗
Okay.
好，谢谢。那接下来同学弟兄姐妹们有没有什么问题写下来的可以传到前面？如果没有文字问题，我们就回答口头问题啊。那所以在座的弟兄姐妹，你可以举手回应或发问的问题，有没有当中？
谢谢老师今天的分享。因为之前在一本关于清教徒的那个书里边看到，他们牧者的有一个牧养原则是争取在每一篇讲道当中是刺透人的良心，但是不侮辱人的人格。那今天听完老师分享，我才知道这个背景是什么。那我想问的问题是，就是就像刚才叶牧师问了一个问题，问到他们实际上在探访当中很少给到信徒有安慰，可能更多的是指出他的罪了。那么在17世纪初，包括18世纪初，包括到了19世纪初的时候，有很多的清教徒的牧者，包括类似于像爱德华兹这样的，他们对基督的丰富的认识是非常丰厚的。那在他们那个时期，我想请教一下，有没有就是应用律法与福音这个原则，这样的平衡的原则去探访病人和进行这个信徒的辅导？有什么样的更多的好的信息可以分享吗？
你是说17、18世纪以后？
对，那些对后期的，就不是西敏大会那个时期的。
现在的following the Westminster and the next century, like the 18th century, John Edwards, they are also Puritans. How do they deal with the issue to talk to the patient, the balance of the gospel? How do they comment?
It's very difficult to know what pastors did at a bedside.
换句话说，要真正了解这个牧师在病人的病床边说什么话，我们很难知道。
There is a book on pastoral care in America.
在美国有一本书叫做《教牧关怀》
that covers the period that covers the 18th century.
所以就论到18世纪的这个情形。
And I'm forgetting the author's name.
我忘了这个作者的名字。
But basically, one would have to read accounts of deathbeds written by family, friends, and ministers to be able to answer that question specifically.
所以我们需要知道这个牧师在这个病人临终病床旁边他说什么话，他的家属听到了什么等等其他资料，才能够知道这个牧师在病床他到底说的话带来什么结果。
That would answer the question how pastoral care was done.
这样说明就你说要问到这个教牧关怀如何在那个时候怎么做呢？这个实际的情况要了解这些。
You could also read books on pastoral care written in that period to see how people thought it ought to be done.
所以你可以读同时期18世纪的一些作者们写到这个教牧关怀应当如何做，讲到这个理论理念方面。
But we all know that once again, theory does not always translate well into practice.
所以我们都知道，这个理念和理念并不是常常都是化成一个正确的好的行动。
I'm afraid that's all I can say based on what I know.
回答18世纪大概是这样，我可以从一些著作来认识来学习。好，下面还有没有
I thought I'd have I could find the title of the book for you later.
我以后找到这个书名，告诉你这个18世纪的作者。
我想要请问老师，就是在西敏大会，就是今天针对今天的内容，就是探访病人、生病的人。那我们知道在台湾其实受大部分联恩派的教会的影响，有赶鬼的问题。我想了解西敏大会他们在讨论这一个部分探访病人的时候，有没有谈到赶鬼或被鬼附这样的区别
？The question that concerning the literature of the Westminster Assembly, also the divines, is there any writings talking about the exorcism, the casting out of demons related with the sickness?
I don't think there are any books explicitly on that subject.
我想在当时没有一本书专门讨论这个所谓赶鬼这个问题的。
There are only comments or brief anecdotes.
只是在书中有时候略微简单提一下，或附注讲解一下。
Scattered throughout their works.
他们著作中可能散布在某些地方。
If I was wanting to study that subject,
如果你要研究这个主题的话，
I would look up biblical passages that talk about demon possession or demons being cast out.
我就会去查考圣经，看圣经中的经文讲主耶稣赶鬼的经文，然后
And then look at sermons or in scripture indexes at the back of works to find comments on that.
看清教徒书他们在讲到这段经文的讲章，以及或者他们这个有一些这个附录可以这个指引是他们讲的这方面的这个解经，或是讲就可以找到他们所说的。
The best work that I've ever read on the subject is out of print.
那我所读到有关这个题目的最好的书，现在是绝版。
Or at least it was out of print the last time I looked.
这个是啊。
It was out of print the last time that I looked.
是上次我看到的时候就已经绝版了。
It's by David Powlison. It's called Power Encounters.
所以就是Powlison 老师写那本这个全能与交战哈。
But I don't know if it's available here or not.
好像还没有中文翻译哈。好，圣经辅导的老师那个 Powlison 所写的。OK， 这边有没有这个也可以。
Okay, I'll ask first.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Dixhoorn, perhaps the language of pastor as doctrinal healer is not so foreign to modern Christians. Perhaps you could address how that idea maybe compare and contrast with the divines or Puritan's idea of pastor as physicians as opposed to pastor as therapists.
Yeah.
要不要说一下中文？
我说，就是牧师是医师或者医治者，对我们现在基督徒来说，这个概念不是这么陌生。可是也许跟刚才Dixhoorn 博士讲说，清教徒也有这个很强调这个概念，他是灵魂的医生。可是也许我请他比较和现在我们大家的期待是，牧师是灵魂的医治者或者医疗者，这个是有什么不一样？
I love your question.
我喜欢你的问题。
And it's really important.
还是很重要的。
And I don't feel like I'm going to give you a good answer.
我想他可能没有办法给你好答案的。
But I'm going to try.
那我要试着回答。
When they're thinking of, when the Westminster Divines are thinking about pastor as physician,
当这个西敏神学家们想到这个牧师是所谓是医生，
they're assuming that the Bible offers a clear diagnosis.
他们是已经前提上假定说圣经提供了清楚的这一个诊断，
And that there's a real cure.
而且带来真实的这个治疗。
That's different than most therapists.
那是和今天所谓心理学这种心理治疗是不一样的。
There's a lot of kind of guesswork with therapy.
那现在大家讲这个所谓心理治疗，其实很多是猜想的啊。
There's something much more tentative.
是比较暂时的症状治疗。
And usually nothing definitive in terms of a cure.
这些所谓心理治疗所谓带来的所谓的医治，其实都不是确定的。
Of course, that needs to be qualified and rounded out in a million different ways.
当然，我们也许可以用不同的100万种方式来把它怎么样来讲解、重新定义哈。
But that seems to be one big difference between them.
所以这个，我想现代的所谓心理治疗家所讲的东西，和西敏神学家讲这个从圣经来辅导是不一样的啊。
I wonder if I'm right in saying too that the doctor's more proactive than the therapist.
那我想，如果比较来说的话，这个我不知道这样表述，但是我觉得医生是比这些心理治疗师呢更主动的去关怀整个人哈。
In most cultures, the therapist is both optional and elitist.
所以那通常来说，在一般文化里面，这个心理治疗学家是说你可以选择，或他们比较是精英主义式的哈。
Not so the doctor.
不像是真正是一个治疗医生，只是给予一种心理的辅导智商而已啊。
I'm reminded of Richard Baxter.
我记得这个我们说巴克斯特啊。
He kind of held office hours like a doctor.
他有的时候也有这个所谓的这个门诊时间啊，就是可以来跟牧师谈话的时间，像医生一样啊。
We read about the number of people he visited per week.
说他每个礼拜花多少时间去探望这个会友。
But actually, most of them came to him.
但是大部分是人来找他寻求辅导。
Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones did something similar.
我们知道这个周马田这个博士医生，在他这个教会里晚上主日晚上也是晚崇拜之后，让人来跟他约谈，排队约谈啊。
And of course, he used to be a doctor.
当然，周马田以前是医生啊。
And Richard Baxter was a hypochondriac. He was always seeing doctors because he thought he was dying most of his life.
那个巴克斯特，因为他自己有濒死的经验，写了这个圣徒用的安息曲，他也知道如何来安慰这些有问题的人。
Again, it's a good question.
这是很好的问题。
Baxter sort of fancied himself as a doctor too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was not uncommon.
所以巴克斯特也常认为自己是属灵的医生啊。
实际上的经验就是，如果我们现在到医院去探访的病人，那位病人本身是牧师，而且本身是神学家，本身是非常敬虔、爱主，而且在神学知识是非常精深的神学家。请问这个时候，我们在 approach 这样子的病人？ 我们论神学、论对圣经的知识、论生命 ，everything， 我们这些都不可能去跟他去多讲些什么他不知道的事。这个时候，请问要怎么处理？特别是我们看到这个病人，他真的是在痛苦、在悲伤，甚至好像被打，我们要怎么办？
So, visiting the patient, if the patient is a pastor, theologian, or everything, how to visit him, what should we say to be him, everything. Especially he's in the painful situation.
Is he asking as a doctor, or is he asking what a minister should do?
所以你问的是从医生说要怎么样对，还是从牧师怎么来去看呢？
Well, I won't pretend to give you medical advice on how to visit a doctor.
所以问问题的李医师他自己是医生啦，所以我不会假装是医生来回答这个问题。
I remember the first time I visited a pastor.
我记得以前我曾经去探望过一个牧师。
He had been a pastor for 25 years.
他已经做牧师25年了。
And he had never received a visit in his life.
他从来没有人去看过他。
I was a young minister.
我是个年轻的牧师。
Not sure what I would say to such a learned and godly man.
我不知道跟这个有学问又敬虔的牧师我该怎么说呢？
He was just delighted that I would come and pray with him.
他非常高兴我愿意去看他祷告。
And to share with him what he already knew.
就分享一些他原来就知道的事情。
And wanted to hear again.
还想再听一遍。
Recently, a colleague of mine and a close friend had cancer, and he died very recently.
最近我有个同工也是非常亲密的朋友，他因为癌症过世。最近。
He was a teacher of systematic theology in our seminary.
他是我们神学院的这个系统神学的教授。
There was nothing I could tell him that he did not already know.
我大概没有办法告诉他任何他所不知道的事情。
But he wanted to hear again how Christ came for sinners.
他想再听一遍基督耶稣如何来寻找拯救罪人。
He wanted to hear me think aloud about the glories of fellowship with our God in heaven.
他要和我一起思想要我说这个在天家里如何一起来敬拜赞美基督的荣耀。
And he wanted me out in about 15 minutes.
是他的。
And he wanted me to go in about 15 minutes.
他要我离开15分钟。
Which I knew ahead of time.
对，我知道。
Because he was so ill and frail.
因为我知道，他如此的如此的病，如此的严重啊。
A godly minister is the easiest sick person to visit in many ways.
所以神要我们去探望各种不同的病人，包括像这样子的病人。You say about 15 minutes he passed away.
Pardon me?
He wants you to leave about 15 minutes left.
Oh, yes. I was just saying, and whoever we visit, I keep the visit short. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
对，我只去探望只有15分钟啊，所以不论我去探望谁病人的话，我不会拖很长时间，所以大家记住了，不要太长了。
I will say one more quick thing.
我还想再讲一件事情。
In English, there are older Bible translations and newer ones.
我们在英文里有比较现代的英文翻译本，也有老的英文译本。
And whenever I visit an old person, I always use an old Bible translation.
所以当我去探望这个老的病人，他以前用的圣经是比较老的版本，我就用那老的版本。
That's what they memorized as a child.
那是因为他们从小是读这本圣经，记得这本圣经。
And I think the passages comfort them most that way.
我想这些他所熟经文最能够安慰他。
It's a small thing.
这是个小事需要注意，所以你要记得用和合本去安慰像我这样的老人家。You say that you confidently use the Chinese University of East Anglia. OK， 那时间是差不多了，还有没有弟兄姐妹想要问最后一个问题？有没有？有没有这个问题要问的？有吗？如果没有的话，我们就要结束，就要 satisfy question now. So
good.
Would you end with prayer?
Let's pray.
好，我们一起来祷告结束。
Gracious God and Father,
亲爱的恩慈的天父，
we thank you that that you have sent your Son
我们感谢你差遣的爱子，
as the physician that we need,
是我们最需要的大医生，
the shepherd to guide us.
是我们大牧者来引导我们。
Will you help us by your Holy Spirit
主啊，求你借着你的圣灵来帮助我们，
to pass on to others
让我们能够传递给别人，
the love and care which we ourselves have received?
但是我们自己所领受你的恩典的爱，
Pardon our every sin, we pray,
饶恕我们所犯的每一个罪。我们这样祷告，
and guard us until we meet again.
主保守每一位与我们同在，直到我们再见面的时候。
We ask this in our Savior's matchless name.
我们奉着我们救主耶稣的无与伦比的圣名来祷告。
Amen.
阿门，阿门，阿门，阿门，阿门，阿门。